What's up, my fellow Toku nerds and fellow Scavenger nerds? In case you're new and haven't seen my Kamen Rider Zets video, my name is Jacob Haugen, aka Kamen Rider Skylander. I currently cover mostly Kamen Rider up to this point, but in my previous videos, I mentioned that I will be covering Ultraman Omega as soon as the show ends, which it's been done for a couple days now, and I know I'm a little late to it, but I still want to share my thoughts regardless. And without further ado, let's get right to it. So, my first thoughts of Omega is, I was interested to see it regardless, because my Ultraman knowledge goes through Ginga till now. Yes, I've seen some Ultraman Zero stuff. Kind of his introduction in Mega Galaxy, Ultra Galaxy Mega Battle, I believe that's what it's called. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's that task force that has no Ultraman in it whatsoever. I think until the movie. Moving on, but I've seen everything up from there to now. So my knowledge of Ultraman is pretty good, I'd say. And I think Omega does really well on conveying a new audience, because this one doesn't lean heavily on any past Ultras at all. I mean, there's one reference, a big one, that we'll get to on later on, but the show itself was really good. I like that it doesn't start off as a task force like most Ultraman series do. The only real exceptions that I've seen are like Ginga at the beginning, kinda. There is a task force in it, somewhat. Jeet is not a task force. Rube isn't. Neither is... no, yeah. I believe that covers it. We're gonna go with that. Any case, it was really cool seeing that start off, whereas Soroto and Kosei just kind of work in the, warehouse, which I do like. I think it's a nice homey warehouse. I've never seen a homey warehouse in my life. But, you know, I totally live there if I could. I'm gonna be completely honest. If there was a warehouse that I can actually live in, I'd take it. Anywho, it was nice seeing that kind of bond between Soroto, Omega himself, and Kosei. It was really nice. And I also like the bond that they have between Aimu? Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I've heard the name multiple times throughout the series. I can never pronounce it correctly, so I apologize on that. But those three, in general, have a really good bond. Aimu is like the older sister between Soroto and Kosei. Especially Kosei. And I just like that brotherly bond that Soroto and Kosei have. The bond in this series is really good. The one character I'd say that I didn't like, still kind of don't like at when she was introduced, was the professor when we were at the halfway mark in Omega. She felt like, her personality screams bad guy. Out of every Toku bad guy I've seen, anyone like the professor is screams bad guy, in my opinion. She's not the bad guy, that's for sure. But dang, when I first saw her, I was like, bad guy, right away. And I don't know. Kudos to the actress that plays the professor. I could tell that she loved being part of the show. But, again, she comes off very Toku bad guy in some spots. If you know what I mean, you'll understand. But, overall, when they got to the task force part of it, I think it was kind of interesting. Although it felt very jarring in some aspects. Only because they're based in the warehouse, which I'm not saying they weren't at the beginning. The warehouse kind of felt more like a home space as opposed to a command base. Turning that into the command base for the task force is a little off-putting. Not saying I hate it, it's just off-putting. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Can't really complain about that. And I do like jackets. Like, I would buy a task force jacket if I could. Those are sharp and stylish. As opposed to what I'm wearing. But it was really good. It was really good. Also, I got address this. I love the transformation item, the Omega Slugger. I mean, just having the mirror crystal insert and then open the slugger, that is really cool design. And the slugger design is basically the chest design of Omega. That's really clever. Whoever designed the Omega Slugger should get a raise for it, because it is honestly one of the best transformation items I've seen since... Well, actually, Blazar was pretty good. I have that one somewhere over there. But this and Blazar Brace, both really good designs overall. And I do like the fight sequence. Yes, it's Ultraman combat basic style, which it's not bad. There's some good shots in there. Like, the ones offhand that I can think of were the introduction to the Regulus armor, the sky fight with the Regulus armor, obviously the final battle, and then another one that had good visuals would probably be, I'd say the first episode. Yeah, we'll go with that. We'll go with those on my highlights for a fight sequence. Let me know down below. Let me know in the comments what you thought was the best fight sequence in all of Omega. I want to know what you guys think. And speaking of Omega, I love the design of it. It's very unique that his head is red as opposed to the typical silver head Ultraman style that we've been seeing through the years. The only exceptions that have a different type of head are probably Zerth, weird Ultraman in general. I don't know how to feel about Zerth, but moving on. And I guess technically Ultraman Z's Beta Smash kind of goes with that line as well. But not most of the Ultras have a silver head with just different variations. It's nice to see like a Ultraman that has a red head. And that definitely shakes up the style a little bit. And the bodysuit is really good, just in general. I think the blue on it really pops in a cosmic way. My only real nitpick about it is that I wish the blue was a little bit darker, a little bit bolder, but that's just a personal preference. I like the suit a lot. Now, when it comes to the armors, okay, I have one nitpick about the armors. Like, in general, the armor aspects of every Ultraman, the ones that do it the most are probably X, Arc. I say Rube. I say Rube in a little bit. I'll explain that in a minute. And technically Blazar, even though he has one other form. My real problem with the armor is that they're either not, like, they feel forced and they feel bulky. If I was doing an Ultraman armor, the best example I would probably do is probably Rube. Oh, and here's my reasoning, because throughout the series we see them change through different, like, elemental forms. Rosso being the red fire one, blue being the water one, obviously. But they can swap different colorways. And it does give that armor feel that I personally do like. It's a really good system. I'm pretty sure it wasn't intended to be armor, but the overall design of those were really good. X and Arc, I like the idea of X. They definitely feel like Bakugan battle gear in some cases. And for Arc, it definitely feels like, it definitely has that tradition of like a red, blue, and final form. It does have that tradition in that. But both of those, both X and Arc, feel very bulky. They don't feel like, it feels uncomfortable, is what I'm trying to get at. Omega. Here's my problem with Omega's armor. It doesn't feel organic. Here's what I mean. If they were going to do an armor, I'd rather them do like an Arc or Rube, where it feels like a power-up and a little bit of a, like, it feels natural, feels somewhat. More so on Rosso and Blue as opposed to Arc. But Arc has a good armor system where it does feel like an enhancement to his powers, even though it's very bulky. And having parts of the Meteor Monster Kaiju, Meteor Kaiju, I think that's what they're called. Having some parts of them be the armor, like Reckless, for example, is the arm guard and shoulder, and you get a sword out of it. I do like that they change up the slugger. I do like that, but it feels, it's not the best. It's not the worst. I just feel like they could have done better with it, to be honest. Even the turtle armor, I think that one and Valgenis armor are probably the best ones. I'm not saying Valgenis as like, yes, it's a final form. Everyone loves the final form. Who doesn't love the final form? Who doesn't? But Valgenis is probably one of the best armors I've seen out of Omega, personally. And the turtle armor is very, well, basic for the turtle armor, and it does work well. The Trigon and Regulus, I wish there were more work on them. Or at least there'd be a chest armor that feels fitting and all that. I did mention Blazar. Blazar is fine. It's fine. That's all I really have to say. Honestly, I like the fire aspects of them. One thing in common in the Valgenis and Blazar armor, Fire Dran armor, they both use a fire element as the final form, which is not a bad thing. Which is not a bad thing. But I just feel like if they were going to do an armor thing in the future, I want them to lean towards more Rosso and Blue, because I feel like those did the armor the best. I've talked a lot about the suit designs, but that's how I feel. That's how I feel about the armors. But the story that goes on between Omega itself is really good. Kosei having to learn the medial kaijus, or being able to use them to help Saruto, is really good. And it definitely helps bond them a lot. I think when it comes to like side characters, the only one that sticks out is that substitute for the professor. That one episode, he is weird, funny, like he's trying to be a greaser from the 50s, kind of weird, but he is funny. He is funny, but that's only a real highlight for me for side characters. And I guess technically the lead commander of the Earth Force. I say that not being the professor and not that group, because they're more of the experts of understanding and trying to defeat the kaijus. They're the research team. The combat side of things, yeah, the leader for that one, yeah, he does what he needs to do. That's all I really have to say, and I think it was good. Now, I want to talk about the final episode. The final episode was done beautifully. You've seen so many Toku people talk about the ending of that, and ultimately I do agree, and I'm so glad that they feel the same way as much as I do, because traditionally in the Ultraman franchise, since the first Ultraman himself, I'm not kidding, the story goes that at the beginning, our main character would die along with the Ultraman in some cases. Sometimes, not always. But the Ultraman recognizes our main character to be a good person at heart and wants to do good. They recognize that, so our main character ends up being the host for the Ultraman and is able to transform into that Ultraman. Like, for example, the main Ultraman, Zero has done it a couple times. Zet is another good one. And I'd say did X ever do that? I know that's probably like the closest spawn I can probably think of that does something similar to that. But having that, where both Kosei and Saruto both die in the final episode, and throughout the series, going over the bond that those two have, and that Saruto gave his powers to Kosei, that is such a beautiful ending to the Omega story. And that solidifies the bond that Kosei and Saruto have, because you can really tell throughout the episodes. So seeing Saruto give his life to Kosei so that both of them can be Omega. Oh my god. It's just, the first time I saw it, I kid you not, I could have cried in that, and it's beautifully well done. If you have not checked out Ultraman Omega, go check it out. It is on YouTube for free. Definitely watch it. It's a good series overall, but that ending hits so hard just because you see that bond grow over time. And ultimately, I think it's going to be hard to top for any future Ultraman to beat, because Omega shook up the formula where we start off with our main character being the main Ultraman himself, but then give his life to his friend, essentially, his brother, so that they both can live on, and Kosei gets to be Omega. I want a season 2 of Ultraman Omega, and I want to see that story evolve with Kosei being Omega. So, it is... I really hope they do that at some point, because it was really good. So, ultimately, those are my thoughts about Ultraman Omega. Now, if you want to check out any other videos, I have a whole playlist covering every single episode up to date with Zets. Also, I'm working on a series that ties into Kamen Rider and Scounders, giving Kamen Riders a Scounder element and battle class. So, those are always up. And then, if there's a video you guys want me to do, mention it down below. I'll see what I can do about it. I'm not the biggest fan of pirating, but ultimately, that's all I got for you. So, until next time, take care.